I'd like to call this meeting of the Fiscal Management Control Board to order. As we begin, I'd like to remind everyone that Control Board meetings are live streamed. It is possible that even if you're just sitting in the audience, that your image may be captured by the cameras. By remaining in the room, you're giving your consent to be filmed. And although we'll remind you later, we're scheduled to go into executive session during today's meeting. We will not be returning to open session following executive session. As is our regular practice, we'd like to begin with public comment. I see that we have some elected officials with us today, and we'll invite them to speak first, followed by those who have signed up, and finally by anyone else who wishes to address the board. We would kindly ask anyone wishing to speak about any issue related to today's agenda to please come up to the podium after we call your name. Please be mindful of the speakers that we have, and please be respectful of the limited time that we have today. Please try to keep your comments as brief as possible. Board Counsel Owen Kane, who's on my left and your right, will give you an indication when it might be helpful to wrap up comments. We are always happy to accept any written comments as well. You can email or hand your comments to Owen at okane@mbta.com. We can assure you that all comments will be distributed to the board members and made part of the record of this meeting. So let us begin with Mayor Marty Walsh of the City of Boston. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and to the members of the board, thank you for allowing me to come and speak today. Secretary Pollack and General Manager Poftak, thank you for your work as well. The City of Boston's partnership with the MBTA is one of the most important that we have. I was just asked downstairs about our relationships, and I was talking about the importance of having this relationship because it depends, our residents depend on it, our workforce depends on it, our economy certainly depends on it, our environment depends on it. So I will always advocate for best possible service to meet the needs of our residents today, but also, and I was asked this downstairs, about the residents of tomorrow, about the growth of our economy here in the City of Boston, but also the growth of our economy in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and talked about some of the investments that have already been made by the MBTA and the investments you'll be making in the $5 billion, as well as another bond bill that's going to make its way at some point through the legislature that's going to improve and really think about how do we improve our service all across the Commonwealth. Today, and I also be committed to a constructive partnership with the MBTA and this board, and I appreciate, I know there's sometimes that we have little bumps in the road, but at the end of the day, I think all of our hearts and minds and work is in the same area, and we want to go in the same direction. So I want to thank the members of this board. You don't get often thanked enough for doing this, and I want to thank you for it. It's a difficult job sometimes. Some days other than others, it's worse than other days than some days, but I want to thank you. Working together, we certainly made progress. We've built in Boston, we've built the first bus lanes in generations in Rosendale, in Alston, and now in North Washington Street. We've put tens of thousands of people in dedicated bus lanes in the City of Boston. We're protecting seniors from fare increases working with this board. We also work to provide MBTA passes for our young people of Boston through 7th through 12th grade. I want to thank the General Manager. One of the first things that he did in his role was to do something that we tried for a long time. We were able to accomplish that. We provide a late night service for third shift workers, something that we heard 20 years ago that was needed to happen to make sure that the workers that couldn't get home at night after they work in our bars and restaurants and hotels, they could get home. These are important collaborations, and they should be recognized and identified. In fact, every time we increase access, increase service, and increase equity in our system, the residents of Boston respond with increased use and increased support of the system, and that's, I think, ultimately what we want to do. We are listening to them and advocating for the people. I'm listening and advocating for the people in the City of Boston today, and they're eager for more. And the reason why I'm here today is to advocate for the essential next steps to improve mobility in our city and also across our region. The first is to increase service. I'm advocating to increase service on the Fairmount Line. When I took office nearly 6 years ago as a state representative, as a mayor, Boston hadn't done a comprehensive study in 50 years. So we launched a plan in every single policy area. Both our transportation plan, which is labeled Go Boston 2030, and our comprehensive plan, which is labeled Imagine Boston 2030, identified the Fairmount Line as a priority. Prior to that, when I was a state representative in 1997, it was kind of the creation, and the Fairmount Line was being built and constructed during that time. There's a reason for what we're doing. Public transit is key to achieving our goal as a city. But public transit is not equally available in our city, and not everyone can participate equally in this growth. All we have to do is look at a map of the system, and you can see areas in Boston with no subway service, areas of Dorchester and Roxbury, Mattapan, Hyde Park. It's the Fairmount Line that's a game changer. It's our largest and most diverse neighborhoods that the Fairmount Line goes through. 1/5 of Boston's population lives along the 9-mile route of the Fairmount Line. 83% of those residents are residents of color. They need and deserve a better service. They've been fighting, quite honestly, for better service for decades. And we have an opportunity now to make sure that that becomes reality. The City of Boston is making investments in these communities from Newmarket to Uplands Corner to Mattapan Square to Reedville. We need investments in public transit to unlock its full potential of those different neighborhoods. And I know many of you have walked those. I know Brian was walking those when he was a general manager, and many of you, Crystal's, worked in those neighborhoods, and you've seen those neighborhoods really evolve as communities and bases of population, but also opportunities of economic opportunities. We need our teams, the MBTA and the City of Boston, to work together to create a plan to increase frequency along this line and make the Fairmount Line a true asset for our residents, our city, our state, and quite honestly, the MBTA system. I urge the board to adopt the service enhancement proposal for the Fairmount Line that's being presented today. And I'd like to ask if we could do that in a quick, timely manner. Our residents and workforce are speaking loud and clear. They want the service. They certainly need the service. They will use the service. It's a very important step. But our residents don't only work in Boston. Our workforce doesn't only live in Boston. We are part of a regional economy and a regional statewide transportation network. That's why I support bold vision of regional rail service to the entire Commonwealth. In Boston, we see the need every single day. Our worst congestion is at the points where people are trying to get in and out of our city. Drivers want and would use better transit options. So we're calling on higher frequency all-day service on lines between Route 128 and downtown Boston. And we strongly support the electrification of the system to lower emission and meet our climate goals as we improve public health, as we build out the system, as you continue to build out the system. Ultimately, I think it's no stranger, and I know I'm preaching to the choir. We need a system that supports the demands of today and certainly unlocks the future, unlocks the opportunities of the future here in the City of Boston and the Commonwealth. That's why the work that you do on this board is so vital. And it's why I'm grateful for our continued collaboration. And I want to thank you for the time, and I look forward to our continued work together.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.